let's talk about day 25 in the Karen Read trial. If you've noticed a change of scenery, it's because I'm on vacation. I am aboard a cruise ship, the Wonder of the Seas, Royal Caribbean, and yet here I am. I'm like watching this trial and still making videos. By the way, today was not a perfect day at CocoCay because I was probably the only nerd out there laying by the pool and still streaming testimony from this case. It's terrible. The first witness today was Jonathan Diamandis, and he's a lifelong friend of Proctor's. They go back like 30 years. He's one of 9 people that is on this group text, and apparently this group text has been going on for years and years and years. And which makes me wonder how many other times Proctor has told his buddies about different investigations he's involved in. About 16 to 18 hours after John was pronounced dead, and Proctor's already telling his buddies, like, here's what's going on, and she's fucked, and blah, 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 blah. He's talking about a confidential investigation with non-police members. That was just one of the reasons he was fired, among 4 or 5 different reasons. The part I love is when this guy, and here's a picture of him, oh, gee, isn't he such a Boy Scout? He's supposed to read the texts, and then somewhere he's like, I just don't know. I mean, these aren't my words, and I feel really uncomfortable saying them. Sure you do. You spent 30 years being friends with somebody who fucking talks like that. You've spent 30 years defending him every time he does something vile and foul. You probably laughed many other times he said shit like that because boys will be boys. There's an old saying, you're judged by the company you keep. So if this is your lifelong friend, if this is somebody who you have seen time and time again behave this raunchy, say things like this about women he doesn't know, potential defendants in cases he's investigating, if you've seen this narcissistic, sexist locker room talk for all these years, you've never corrected it, and you admit it on the stand, you're still friends with them, I can't help but think that you're the exact same way, or that you absolutely condone it. But let's talk about this ray of sunshine. This is Kelly Dever. Don't call her Dever. That really upsets her. I can't figure out why she is so shockingly angry. It makes no sense to me. So best I can figure is here's what happens. So Kelly is the person who gets called into the Canton PD. She's on patrol the night of the 28th. She was working an overnight shift the night of the 28th into the 29th, which was the night of the party at 34 Fairview. Good is on the dispatch desk. He's been there all night. She gets called to the desk when Good needs to go to the scene. So she comes in. Now, we saw the videos of Higgins there earlier that night, and you know how easy it is to walk up and down those halls and look right in there and walk right into the dispatch room and come back out. So it's pretty hard, I think, to be the dispatch person and not know what's going on in the station or not know everybody that's there. But anyway, she tags in for Good. Good goes and hits the scene at 34 Fairview. So she's there, and she stays there. She says she's not off the clock until 4 o'clock that afternoon. So she was there all day when Proctor and Buchanan and everybody arrived. Now, it's not at all surprising. She's up on the stand. She's like, well, no one ever talked to me. Well, it's not surprising at all because they didn't fucking investigate. So the Canton PD never talked to her and said, what'd you hear? Who was here? Who'd you talk to? Nothing. The Massachusetts State Police never asked her, hey, what's the comings and goings around here? What's going on? No one ever questioned her. But then she finally gets a call from the feds. So August 9th of 2023, finally gets a call from the feds. And the feds are like, do you remember anything unusual about that day? And she's like, oh, well, yeah. She remembers sitting in the dispatch room where there's camera monitors so she can see what's happening all around the station. She can see on her monitor what's happening in the Sally Port. And she tells the FBI that she saw Brian Higgins and Ken Berkowitz in the Sally Port with Karen's SUV for what was a wildly long time. I don't think you make something up like that. But so that's what she told the feds, which tells me that's what she saw. Now, again, Canton PD never talked to her. MSP never talked to her. She never wrote a report. She never jotted it down. That must have been eating away at her for 20 months. She must have been like, I wonder what those guys are doing. And at some point, she could have come forward and said, you know what, maybe Karen Read is innocent because here's what I saw. But she waited until the FBI called her, and then she told the FBI. Now, just like the FBI told Jen McCabe, it is a crime to lie to a federal officer. they said the same thing to Kelly. So when Kelly said, that's what I saw, I believe she's telling the truth. You don't just make something like that up and have it be so clear. Like, I saw them on the monitor. They were in the Sally Port, and it was for a wildly long time. Like, she was suspicious of what they were doing, and so she told the feds. But now here she is in court saying, oh, no, that's not what happened. I must have misremembered it. She's heard through all the coverage of the case that the car wasn't in the Sally Port, or that we all believe the car wasn't in the Sally Port. I mean, was it there earlier than we think? That's what it makes me feel like, that it was there when Kelly was still on duty. Before she clocked out and went home, she seems to recall those two men being in the Sally Port with the car. I don't think you can imagine that. I don't think she made that up. My favorite part is when she said, well, you know, essentially to Alan Jackson, you guys threatened me to charge me with perjury if I didn't tell the story that I told to the feds. And of course, Alan Jackson's like, who, us? Like, we can't charge you with perjury. He's like, we didn't make any threats. And she's like, yes, you did. I called the FBI. I made a report. And he's like, do you have a copy of that report? She's like, well, I have emails. I doubt very seriously she has an email from the FBI that says, which is basically the same thing that Carrie Roberts tried to say, is, it's not a lie if there was no intention, if you didn't mean to lie, if that was the information you had at the time and you reported to the feds, or you went in front of a grand jury and you said what you thought, and then someone talked you out of that, that's not a lie.